I can tell you that most patients come to us already doing all of the right things. They're already working out as much as they realistically can in their busy lives. They're trying to do their best to eat well most of the time, an 80-20 type of rule. They're cutting carbs, they're limiting alcohol, they're doing all the right things, and they're not losing weight. And I understand that that can be incredibly frustrating. When you're doing everything right and not seeing results, there's usually a couple of underlying factors that we need to discuss. And this can be both on a GLP-1 and before a GLP-1. First, something to keep in mind is if you've recently increased your workout intensity, you might be building muscle and losing fat, which ultimately means the scale might not be moving much, but your body composition is improving. This is where non-scale victories are really so important. We tell people all the time, take measurements, measure your waist, measure your thighs, measure your arms. You're going to see differences there. Even if you don't measure, frankly, you're going to notice differences in the way that your clothes feel, the way that you look in the mirror, etc. And those victories are just as important as the scale victories that we always talk about. The other key areas that we chat with people about when they're not losing is, are you getting enough of the other things? Are you getting enough sleep? Because poor sleep dramatically impacts your ability to lose weight. How are you managing your stress? If you're very stressed, high cortisol levels will absolutely stall fat loss. Are you eating enough? And are you eating enough protein more specifically? I think it's really important that people understand, especially when taking a GLP-1, that you have to eat enough total calories to fuel your body in order to be successful in this process. One of the things that I frequently see people doing wrong when they come to me from another provider or when they come to us, let's scratch that because I don't want to call it doing wrong. One of the things that I frequently see from people is that they're not eating enough total calories overall. It's really important. Actually, I'm just going to scratch this whole question and start over. Okay, so the question is, I'm working out and eating well. Why am I not losing weight? I absolutely understand that this is one of the most frustrating experiences. And it's very frequent that we have people come to us that are doing all of the right things. They're working out as much as they reasonably can in their busy lives. They're trying to eat good most of the time. They're cutting carbs. They're limiting their alcohol. They're trying to do all of the right things and ultimately not losing weight. And so certainly GLP-1 is a great support in this, right? It's a great tool and it really helps you from a metabolic perspective to be able to lose weight. But when you're on a GLP-1 and doing all of those things and still not losing weight, I think people start to get really, really frustrated. And there's a couple of key things that we need to usually discuss when that happens. The first is about workouts. If you recently increased your workout intensity, you're likely building muscle and losing fat. And ultimately, the scale may not be changing a lot at that point. And that's okay. That's really where the non-scale victories become so important to people. We frequently tell people to measure themselves, measure your waist, measure your thighs, measure your arms, because you'll start to see those numbers going down. But ultimately, even if you don't measure yourself, the things that you'll start to notice are your clothes are fitting differently, or you look different when you look in the mirror. And those are really the non-scale victories that I want people to celebrate, because those are just as important as the numbers on the scale. Other key areas that we often need to discuss when we talk about weight loss either stalling out or not going as expected are other things, like all of the other things that you're doing that may be playing into your ability to lose weight. We need to look at some key areas. Are you getting enough sleep? Poor sleep will dramatically impact your ability to lose weight. How are you managing your stress? High cortisol levels will absolutely stall fat loss, despite doing all of the right things otherwise. Are you eating enough protein, and are you actually eating enough total calories overall? This is one of the biggest pitfalls that I see from patients, is that because they're not especially hungry, they're not eating much overall. But ultimately, if you're not eating enough total calories in a day, your body goes into starvation mode and will not allow you to lose any more weight. There are normal hormonal imbalances that also can play into your ability to lose weight. And so this is why it's important to work with a provider rather than just getting your medication shipped to you from a pharmacy and really not working with anybody at all. I always recommend to patients that we dig specifically into their individual situation. Sometimes we need to run labs, sometimes we need to adjust GLP-1 dosing, sometimes we need to add adjunctive medications, and all of those things are available to patients when working with our program. I'm on the max dose of semaglutide. Why aren't I losing? If you're on the max dose of semaglutide and your weight loss has stalled, we really need to take a comprehensive look at what's happening. Being on a max dose doesn't automatically mean maximum results. It actually means that sometimes there's other factors underlying that really might be impacting your weight loss. First, it's important to think about your response pattern. Did you initially lose weight and then plateau? Or have you had a minimal response from the beginning? This is going to tell us a couple of different things.